Why aren't you afraid, human? His reply shook the entire court. The Galactic Tribunal's chamber stretched impossibly high, its crystalline walls pulsing with the bioluminescent patterns of a dozen alien species. Ambassador Marcus Chen stood at the center of the vast amphitheater, his simple black suit a stark contrast to the elaborate ceremonial garments and exotic physiologies surrounding him. Above him, thousands of eyes, compound, multifaceted, burning with plasma or gleaming like polished obsidian, stared down with a mixture of curiosity and contempt. The charges against humanity were severe: aggressive expansion, violation of 17 peace treaties, and the complete annihilation of the Cortex battle fleet. The evidence was damning. Holographic displays showing human warships tearing through alien formations with ruthless efficiency. What should have been a one-sided massacre had become humanity's most decisive victory. High Judge Vexithara, her mantis-like form towering 12 feet above the judicial platform, clicked her mandibles in what Marcus had learned was the Zalari equivalent of clearing one's throat. Her forearms gestured dramatically as she spoke, her voice a harmonious blend of chittering and melodic tones. The defendant species stands accused of crimes against galactic peace, she announced, her words translated through the neural implants all diplomats carried. Humanity has demonstrated a pattern of violence that threatens the stability our Confederation has maintained for over a millennium. Marcus remained perfectly still, his hands clasped behind his back. He had requested to represent his species alone, against the advice of every human diplomat and military leader. They couldn't understand why he would face this trial without advocates, without evidence to counter the accusations, without even the basic courtesy of submitting a defense brief. The Procurator General, a being that resembled a cross between an octopus and a crystalline formation, extended several tentacles toward holographic evidence. The human military doctrine shows complete disregard for accepted rules of engagement. Where civilized species would negotiate, they attack. Where others would seek compromise, they annihilate. They are a plague upon the galaxy. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembled delegates. The Therian delegation's chittering grew more agitated, while the gas-based cloudkin began shifting their colors to deep reds and purples, universal signs of distress and anger. Marcus had listened to 3 hours of testimony, each witness describing humanity's apparent bloodlust and savage nature. They spoke of human colonies that refused to submit to proper authority, of human traders who wouldn't accept reasonable tribute, of human explorers who ventured into forbidden sectors, with complete disregard for ancient territorial claims. Finally, High Judge Vexithara leaned forward, her compound eyes focusing on the lone human. You have heard the charges, Ambassador Chen. Your species stands accused of being a threat to galactic civilization itself. Yet you stand there unmoved, unconcerned. Tell this court, why aren't you afraid, human? The chamber fell into absolute silence. Even the background hum of life support systems seemed to pause. Marcus slowly raised his head, meeting the High Judge's gaze directly, a gesture that caused several species to recoil in shock. Direct eye contact was considered either deeply, intimate, or dangerously aggressive among most galactic civilizations, Your Honor, Marcus began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. You ask why I'm not afraid. The answer is simple. I've read your histories. A confused chittering began among the delegates. The High Judge's head tilted in the universal gesture of bewilderment. Marcus gestured to the assembled court. Every species represented here conquered their homeworld through violence. The Zalari eliminated 17 competitor species before achieving dominance. The Cortex bred their own females into extinction to create a pure warrior caste. The Therian dissolved their own planet's atmosphere to kill off the impure populations. The chamber erupted in outraged protests, but Marcus continued, his voice rising above the cacophony. But then you achieved spaceflight, and suddenly violence became uncivilized. You created this confederation not out of wisdom or moral evolution, but out of exhaustion. You had each grown so efficient at killing that mutual annihilation became inevitable. So you agreed to stop, not because you became better, but because you became afraid. High Judge Vexithera slammed her primary arm against her platform, demanding silence. "These are lies. Distortions." "Are they?" Marcus asked. "Your own archives document these events. What you call civilization is actually an elaborate treaty to prevent your own extinction. You've created a galaxy-wide protection racket where established species exploit newer ones, justifying it as maintaining order." The human ambassador began walking slowly around the chamber's center platform, his movement causing instinctive defensive responses from several species. "You're not afraid of humanity because we're violent. Every species here achieved dominance through violence. You're afraid because we're still willing to fight for what's right instead of what's profitable. When you demanded our colonies pay tribute for protection, we asked, protection from whom? When you ordered our traders to accept traditional arrangements, we asked, traditional for whom? When you declared vast regions of space forbidden, we asked, by whose authority? Marcus stopped directly beneath the High Judge's platform. The Cortex battle fleet didn't come to negotiate or enforce law. They came to make an example of us, to show other young species what happens when they question your authority. They came to commit genocide, and they brought enough firepower to sterilize 12 worlds. The chamber had fallen silent again, but this time, the quality of silence was different, thoughtful rather than shocked. "So why aren't I afraid?" Marcus smiled, and several species flinched at the human expression of bared teeth. "Because fear is how you've controlled the galaxy for 1,000 years. Fear of being labeled uncivilized, fear of being excluded from trade networks, fear of being declared threats to peace. But humanity has faced extinction before. From ice ages, asteroid impacts, our own wars, plagues, and the cold vacuum of space itself." He spread his arms wide, addressing the entire assembly. "We didn't survive by being afraid. We survived by standing up when everything told us to lay down. And when bullies come with fleets to murder our children and claim it's for the greater good, we don't negotiate. We don't submit. We fight." Marcus lowered his arms and looked directly at the High Judge again. "You want to judge humanity? Then judge us fairly. We've broken no laws except the unwritten rule that new species must bow to established ones. We've committed no crimes except refusing to let you turn us into what you've become, predators who call themselves peacekeepers." The silence stretched for long moments before High Judge Vexithera spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "And what would you have us do, human?" "Be better." Marcus replied simply. "All of you conquered your worlds through strength. We're offering you the chance to build a galaxy through justice. The choice is yours, but we'll be here either way, unafraid. The trial's outcome would reshape galactic civilization, but in that moment, one human's refusal to be intimidated had already changed everything.